Welcome to 20th Century Geek. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 20th Century Geek. This is Scott Weatherly, your regular host. And we're not talking comics, but I've got the comic book guys back in.
Hey.
Yeah, Matt and John back in the house, back in 20th Century Towers.
That's it, yeah. Not glad to be back. It's always good.
Yeah, it feels like it wasn't so long ago that we were here last. It's like
That's it.
second
That's it.
home.
Yeah, I'm trying to rotate. I'm trying to rotate around more people now. I'm getting a bit of a rotation going on now.
We need to get like an office set up or something. Just come and knock on the door whenever you need us. And
Yeah, I'll keep me in a box under the stairs, just roll you out when I need
that's it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's where I keep Mike. Mike actually lives under the stairs.
Oh,
so
right,
it's just, yeah.
Room for two small ones.
That's it. Yeah, just slot them in. For this I've sort of so I've brought you guys in to talk about this. We'll get onto the topic in a minute. But I'm not travelling through time, so I'm celebrating. I've got 3 weeks in May, so I thought we'll do a travelling time, and we'll celebrate 3 films that I sort of think are these I think are important.
Yeah.
They're important to me. Going all the way back, I'm going to be going back and doing Planet of the Apes for 1968. Talking Charlton Heston, guns and apes, basically.
Yes.
And the whole franchise, all the way up to the most recent War of the Planet of the Apes, and how that's all changed. And then jumping forward 10 years to 1978, we're going to talk about. I'm going to cover Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Hey.
And obviously everything to do with from the original, which was 56, I think. Talking about the Cold War influence on that, and then the fear of basically hippies, which was the 78 fear, and then all the other ones that have come after it. They're sort of like they do seem to get like since the 78 version, they've got less good. I think as the ones have come along. So we'll be doing that, but we're going to be doing 30 years back in time. And we're going to be talking Who Framed Roger Rabbit from 1988, which, to be fair, it's one of those films that I didn't realise was that old. To be fair, really, 88. Jeez.
That's it. That's the year you were born. Isn't it?
It is, yeah.
There you go.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this in the cinema.
Sorry, Scott.
That
All I can see is
Screw you, youthful sots. No, but I remember seeing this in the cinema, and as we said, there are parts of this film that are very kid friendly.
Yeah.
I think very much aimed at children.
Yeah.
And then I would say there are parts that really aren't.
No.
Yeah.
But I think you could get away with it in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it falls in that sort of category of sort of children's films that were probably pushing the envelope a little bit.
Well, kids' films now don't tend to scare. There's no scary bits. I remember loads of films scaring me when I was a kid.
I always think you remember the scarier ones more.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones that stick out in your head because, well, I mean, you had, like, sleepless nights about them and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, generally, it's like, if it scares you a little bit, there's, like, a little bit of intrigue there, and that sort of stays with you. And, like, now I'm older, all the stuff that scared me is, like, my favourite. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
It's just, like, that was horrifying, but now it's like, oh, I love that.
I used to be terrified of Shredder in the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah, he was scary, wasn't he?
Oh, like the movie version.
Yeah.
But he was like they made him look. He was like a proper like badass ninja dude, wasn't he? Like he looked the part. Then they brought King Kevin Nash, and the second one loses its appeal.
Okay.
But you're right though, because you think about the 80s. Even to be fair, I mean this is a Disney film. That's the thing to remember. This is a Disney film, and up until like the 70s and stuff, they'd really played it safe. It was all like anthropomorphic animals. It was very sort of Disney princess. It was all very suitable, and they went off a cliff a bit. Or when they went cliff, they went into some dark places, and you get like the Black Cauldron, Basil the Great Mouse Detective, and
Fox and the Hound.
Which has got some like little like moments in it. Like someone at Disney went dark places. Yeah. Someone was in a bad place.
Tim Burton was produced Fox and the Hound.
Oh God, he was, wasn't he?
First,
That's it. That was
Animated
adding
movie,
its darkness into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens
when
if
he
the
stops.
fox? Right? What happens if the fox kills the hound?
That's it. And he writes
Yeah,
a
right,
song
Tim.
about it.
You sit over there.
And make the movie.
Yeah.
We'll complain later.
Yeah, go draw the Joker. We'll
Yeah.
come back to you later. So yeah, there were other films as well. I mean, aside from Disney, I always think of like Monster Squad.
Yeah.
I think there's other films that sort of like even like Flight of the Navigator. Like there was this real fear like that they tapped into for kids. Like they weren't scared of saying like this could happen to you. You could zap 10 years into your future, and no one will love you. So yeah, in the 80s it seemed a bit more like that sort of thing. There's the film, what was it? Invaders from Mars.
Oh yeah.
From the 80s, which is I think it's a Toby Hooper film about a kid who literally has to take on aliens from Mars, and in the end of it, like he kills them by shoving like a penny or something into them, and it blows them up. But I remember watching I watched it recently, and I'm like, I'm not sure who this is for.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be a kid's film, but the stuff in it's twisted.
Yeah.
I don't know when it stopped because the 90s they had like, do you remember Matilda?
Oh yeah.
Flipping Matilda terrified me.
Like Ellie loves Matilda,
Yeah.
the live action film, but I watched it, and even in that, you think like the Mrs. Trumbull,
Oh my life.
the teacher,
Yeah.
when she's literally throwing children
Yeah.
around, and there's a scene where they almost imply that one of them's going to be impaled on a fence.
I just remember that bit where she's hiding in a house or something, in an office or something like that.
And like
I just remember being like sweating. Oh my!
I've never seen anything so intense.
Why are we in here? Why are we watching this film? Yeah,
like
but
the Witches as well.
The Witches.
That's
Witches
horrifying.
amazing.
that
That
took
We used to watch
multiple watches to finish.
We watched that
Yeah.
at school.
Yeah.
They put that on a projector.
Yeah.
And like I remember one day it burnt out. The projector didn't. It did that horrible like
The
melty
dwarf,
fuzz
yeah.
thing, and I was like, oh no! Like that was.
the hands that's from the
I
telly.
thought they were coming out. I was like, oh, this is it now. They've
That
broken
film
into
for me,
reality.
I'm done for.
That was like, you know, in a nightmare where you keep waking up and you're like, and it's like you're told you have to stay with it and it'll end. And that was like
Play it
fourth
through.
watch
Play it
of
through.
The Witches. Like, and at the end you're like, oh,
Good time.
those witches.
Oh.
It's a classic then.
Foiled again.
But I think that there are parts of this film that definitely fall into that camp.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's terrifying.
yeah, because I mean the whole Toon side of this
Yeah.
is kid friendly. Like,
Yeah,
it opens with what is tantamount to basically a Tom and Jerry cartoon
Yeah.
on the violence level,
Yeah,
and you sort of go, this is standard fare for any
Yeah.
cartoon, especially of that era. But then straight away, as soon as it sort of lapses into that reality,
Yeah.
Mm.
and Baby Herman's like smoking cigars and complaining about the script and stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, this gets weird.
Well, I think this is what they've. This is sort of lost now because I mean, really, it's a satire, isn't it?
Yeah.
On like
Hollywood.
animation and
Yeah.
in Hollywood, where now like anything like that has to be done. They're like, oh, make R-rated. It's only good if it's R-rated.
Yeah.
But this is proof that you can still have something that everyone can watch.
Well, this
But
is
really,
not.
it's not. It's like not really a kid's film. When you think about it, it is. It's what everyone, because all the cartoons are from ages ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, but most of them. So everyone recognises them. So it is making fun of all that you knew as a kid.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you know them anyway, so you're just happy to see them on screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the interesting thing about this is such a mixture of genre that like you say, because the cartoon watching this like you do, like Roger Rabbit clearly made, or the design at least was created for the film, as with Jessica and Baby Herman, like the main characters. But then you do get Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, all those sort of characters you know.
This was like the first Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
totally.
The
This
original
was
Ready
it, and
Player.
I remember as a kid watching it, just looking out for them and pausing it, and
Picking
me and my
out
brother
who's
like,
in what,
who's that? Oh, look, it's this one. It's this one.
Yeah.
Play.
And
Pause.
I say
Yeah.
all those websites that now have like how many cameos did you
Yeah.
spot? Or those things only a true fan would know.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, they would have been all over Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, definitely.
You had to like pick up a magazine about it.
Yeah.
Like, and be like, oh, Johnny spotted 12 different people.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Johnny.
Yes.
Oh.
Go, Johnny.
Johnny's got
Look at it. It's been Looking magazine. But the thing was, like I say, because when you look at the special features and they talk about that, it was a real achievement to have. I mean, it's the only time, before or since, that like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse have appeared on screen together in the same thing.
Yeah.
And when they did, they were like, right, because it's a Disney produced film, they were like, well, if you're having any Warner Brothers character in there, they've got to have the same screen time as a similar tiered Disney character.
Yeah.
So that's why you have Daffy Duck and Donald Duck
Oh,
doing an act
constantly
together.
like
And it works. I mean,
it's amazing.
I love the way Seesaw goes back and forth and ends up with a cannon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's something that's something as a kid you would dream of seeing.
Oh yeah, no, I remember being really excited.
That's Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
Before Batman versus
That was
Superman.
it. This was like your first shared
Daffy
universe.
versus
It is,
Donald.
yeah.
This is it is. This is where you go, oh, they live together. Like this is crazy. So the fact that only Spielberg in the 80s could have made that happen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like Spielberg working for them clearly went to Warner Brothers and was like, I'd like to do this, and we're doing this, and I've got Bob Zemeckis on board, and it's Kathleen Kennedy, and they're just like, all right, we're in, we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
That would not happen now. Like you'd have to really work for it.
Well, I mean,
I guess that's why he did
Spielberg's
it again.
just done it again, with like computer characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ready
that
Player
is-
One is definitely a similar. I would actually say that Roger Rabbit's still a better film.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's a different.
I would agree, but
Do you reckon Spielberg like cast something in there that was like, like a 30-year sort of
Every
like
30
coin?
years.
They were
He's
just
got to
like,
do, like,
it's
the
just
next
like
medium.
you can have as many characters you want, but you have to wait on it for 30 years, and then you can do this again. We'll allow it.
It becomes
like,
really ancient Spielberg being rolled out. And like, here's the 3D one.
Yes.
No, it's true. Actually, it's a very good point. I hadn't really thought to that extent. But yeah, I mean, so that's the toon version of this. That's the kid-friendly version of this. Although you make a really good point about some of the characters, other than those top-tier characters, like everything from like your Goofy and your Daffy, Donald Duck, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All that, like, is your top tier. You recognise that.
Yeah.
But there's characters in this as well that the studios have clearly inherited.
Yeah.
Like from the acquisition of other studios, because they've got all kinds of like, there's some Fleischer characters in there, and some other bits that you're like, right, those are real 40s characters that no one's gonna
Betty
know.
Boop's got
Betty Boop's in
she's
there.
in it.
big
And they make a really good point about that. Since things have gone to colour,
yeah.
Like, and I love that idea.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Yeah,
And it's sad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Because you're watching, like, oh,
yeah.
Well, the thing it's quite sad. You
Yeah.
go, oh, Betty. Sort of, like, you have to become a waitress in a really seedy bar, and then you have to watch. Betty Boop then has to watch Jessica Rabbit, who's clearly the modern induction of that. So yeah, but it opens up questions to me, this film, because obviously the film's set in sort of like 40s. I think it's meant to be post-war, so it's set in like the post-war sort of like 40s, and you've got Hollywood trying to reignite itself. So animation's in its early period.
Yeah.
And I put out to Twitter, like literally yesterday, I asked the question, like, what are people's thoughts on Roger Rabbit? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? And I got an absolute flood of people like, oh, it's an amazing technical achievement. It looks amazing. It's one of my favourite films from being a kid. Real praise for this film. Like, it has a real place of nostalgia for people. But one of the things that came up again and again was, I hope they don't make a sequel. I hope they don't make a reboot. Blah blah blah. And I was thinking, but like you said, because this is a satire.
Yeah.
I think there's real room for a sequel.
Yeah.
Because toons don't die.
Yeah.
No.
So
But maybe that a call for a different film with the same premise.
So just a couple of months ago, Mike and I threw out sort of an episode about what belated sequels would you want to see.
Yeah.
And because we were talking about the films, that I like, it was because of like Blade Runner 2049. And, these things are getting belated sequels, and I really do think I would love to see a belated sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
To see sort of like, because in that Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is set his heyday.
Yeah.
So during this period, like Roger Rabbit is a star.
Yeah.
Like it's his cartoons that are going out. He's working at the peak of his career.
Yeah.
What happens when no one cares?
Yeah.
You know, like people still watching your cartoons, probably on like Cartoon Network at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But what happens to that tune? Like, so I'd love to see one like set in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And like, you know, or even the mid 80s, where Roger Rabbit gets pulled back in to become a private detective or whatever with Eddie Valiant's great grandson, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But then you could really like dig into commercialism, because then he's got to deal with cartoon characters that are created solely to sell toys.
Yeah.
So he's got to deal with like He-Man, Transformers, all that kind of thing. So you know, he's got like Japanese animation coming over and sort of stuff. Like, how would someone who's had to live through all that deal with that?
Yeah. The question is though, now would it be? You've got like with like Ready Player One, Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
It's being done, isn't it? And
To an extent.
Will it come out and you just be like, oh,
I've seen it.
they didn't need to make that?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what. Like, if those films weren't around, you'd be like, yes.
But they focus on computer games, and I suppose there is that element of the old and the new, especially with Wreck-It Ralph, which is that sort of an old arcade game having to deal with new styles.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There is. I just feel that there's
Yeah,
something
like the cartoon thing specifically is
especially
There's definitely. I
Especially
think
to
the
deal
good
with-
thing about Roger Rabbit is that, like I say, the main sort of characters that push the story forward aren't anything to do with all of these other characters are just there.
Yeah.
So if you put it as a time thing, then all of a sudden it becomes about everything around you rather than just another story about these characters with the others popping up. Because that was what was good, was that there's loads of cameos in it, but they are scenery.
Yeah,
basically to a good story anyway.
Yeah.
It is like a nice sort of
No,
sense
you're
of
not wrong. I
mystery.
mean, even you say scenery in exactly some of it is exactly that.
Yeah.
Where they used animation cells from the 40s and just overlaid it onto into the background of certain scenes. So they are literally scenery. Like they weren't animated for the film. They were literally scenery.
Well, so points where some of the characters, well, like the Weasels, they're from Winnie the Willows.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
So they're literally characters.
But it doesn't focus on them being that at all. It's just
this is
all
like
of their place.
This is a second career for them.
Yeah. So I think the good thing about the Toontown thing is not finding out how what their jobs are. It's just how they're living.
Yeah.
That's the interesting, because we know they're in the we've seen the cartoons.
Yeah.
But you want to see what they're doing in their real life, and that's what makes you laugh, because you're like, oh,
imagine
what they do. That's what they're doing.
And but that's what I'm saying. It opens up real. To me, I think there's so much unexplored in this.
Yeah.
Because
they've created a Toontown.
Yeah.
What's going on in this room, that room, that room at the same time.
A town.
That's what's so good about it, isn't it? It feels.
Like you're saying, as these characters have grown, is there now a Toontown? If you were to look at it, even if you were to do a 2018 version, is there a Toontown in Japan? So a comic full of like crazy sexed anime characters and like weird like goth vampire dudes, and then we get Postman Pat and and the Care Bears. But is it just ones dotted all over? Like, could you go to like France and there's one where you got like Tintin and Kylo or some other characters living. The Muskehound, the D'Artagnan and the Muskehound, or some shit like that. Like, I'd love to see like how that grows, because the thing about these characters is like Jessica Rabbit admits it. She says, "I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way." So someone's drawn her. Someone has created her. And say like, well, how does it come off the page? Like, what? I don't want to ruin the magic. I know there's always an element of mystery. I don't want to know the full process.
Yeah.
Be like, well, what about these new characters that are created then? Like, how they interact. I'd love to. It's just an area of exploration.
I think it's just because it's got that infinite expanse, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, there's always new tunes being created, and there's always like we have got like they've changed styles and they've moved countries, and like there's all these different influences, and so like Toontown essentially just expands constantly, doesn't it? And so like
because that could be the thing. Like, you could go back and do a similar, because I like the fact that this is basically at its heart is a noir. It's a 1940s noir, right? And the fact that it ends up being, and there are going to be some spoilers as well, let's be fair, it ends up being about property scam, which is exactly the same as like Chinatown and some of those other sort of noir films. That like it fits that mold.
It's two satires in one, isn't it?
Yeah. But like you say, when you modernise it, you could do that. Still keep that noir thing because Toontown is now under threat. But you could do the satire of the other things. I kept thinking the two other things that really kept bothering my head. Maybe I'll just think about this shit too much. Maybe doing this podcast has really warped my way. Because I was thinking, like, having done Superman last month, right? I mean, we said about the Superman cartoons are probably the best iteration of that character. I was thinking, right, well, this is done. If this film's for 90, say, I think it takes place in 1946, right? So you've just had the Fleischer Superman cartoons. So in the 60s, you're going to have the Super Friends. And in the 90s, you're going to have the Bruce Timm Superman. Is that the same tune? Does he come in and get
the same character?
Does he come in and get an upgrade?
Probably not.
Or does that mean there's three different
actors?
Or does that mean there's three different Superman? So there's actually like a Fleischer Superman walking around Toontown like you can't get job, can't get any work because he's not the current Superman anymore.
Yeah.
And then you got like the
maybe
super
they just
friendly
get resigned
way.
to somewhere. There's like a retirement home for
That's
Superman.
it.
Like,
you know, and so but there might even be a thing of like they introduced dip in this film, which is the only way to kill a toon. Which I love because the three elements that are in it, three chemicals, are all paint thinners, which is like an amazing, which is a really good gag.
Yeah.
But then what about like if toons can't get work and no one's listening to them anymore and like they're completely irrelevant? Maybe there's they can be euthanized.
Yeah.
Like they can willingly be dipped. Like we're not going to live for anymore. Like toon suicide. Just die.
Yeah.
But like toon suicide. I don't know.
But I mean, I suppose they do
so
touch on that, don't they? With Betty Boop. That's the whole.
Exactly.
Now she's just a waitress.
Yeah.
So, old Superman. He's probably like, I don't know,
crossing guard.
Yeah.
Well, you see,
something daft.
Maybe he's like an extra in the other Superman thing.
That's it. He's the Bruce Timm. He's a Timverse Superman stunt double.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the director.
Yeah.
Yeah. He comes on as a
stuff.
He comes on as a sort of a creative consultant.
Yeah. He's like the George Lucas.
But that's what I'm saying. There's so much to explore, especially as like animation and stuff has evolved.
I thought it was funny, like the property thing as well, because like that's kind of how Disney got the property for like a Disney World.
Yeah.
Like he bought it under different names and like did this giant scam in order to get it at a reduced price.
Yeah. It is. No one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
It's a proper cheeky film though, isn't it? There's loads of.
There's loads of things.
And there's loads of bits that are pretty racy. And
Yeah.
Like naughty additions to like cells, and there a bit where you can see up Jessica Rabbit's skirt.
Yeah, when Benny crashes and she comes flying out.
Yeah.
But even more obvious, like the bit where she comes to the office and his trousers drop and he pulls his up. It's like his head hits her boobs.
Yeah.
It goes like boing.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, I'm like, wow, yeah. So yeah, it does play the racy card. Sometimes.
I mean Jessica Rabbit in general is just like that's they're throwing that out there without any.
That must have been an interesting meeting.
Yeah.
When they were like, here's the character design. So what's this? Oh, it's Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. Yeah, this is good. We can even do some merchandising on further cartoons about this.
Yeah.
All right. Who's this? It's Baby Herman. Oh, he's adorable. Yeah. Oh,
He smokes.
That's funny.
That's good for you.
That's
good for you.
Yeah, good. Yes, the 80s. Yeah. Does he do cocaine? Oh no, we don't show that.
Yeah.
And then they roll out Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
I can imagine the executives being like, I'm not sure what we can do with this. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's for the dads.
For the dads. All the dads are.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Dads will love it.
Yeah. And there is that element, even as a kid, you're a bit like, I'm not sure how to feel about this.
Yeah.
I'm attracted, but I know I shouldn't be.
I'm pretty sure, this movie probably kick-started my puberty.
In the wrongest possible way.
They even like make fun of that in it.
Yeah.
With the ugly.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Yeah. The one who doesn't get a name. She just sort of chases.
But he seems to like know her already, doesn't he?
He just sees her silhouette.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's Jessica Rabbit because she's got the very similar. And then she turns. She's like, man.
That's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So they do. They even satirize themselves.
It's that. I think that's what I like about it. And I like Disney more just for putting it out there. You feel like, oh yeah, they can happily poke fun at themselves, and you ignore that they.
This is sort of
sex all of a sudden.
Clearly, like
that. You're like, oh, that's okay because they laugh about it.
Yeah. Hey.
But yeah, it is. It's like because this is when Disney, I think, were less worried about protecting the House of Mouse kind of brand and stuff. Because this would never never happen now. I don't think Disney would. You know, and you look at all the stuff they produce now. You know, Marvel stuff aside, even Star Wars is like it's a very walled off, protected little thing.
I suppose even if you look at Wreck-It Ralph, that's not their characters.
Yeah,
but it's so much tamer than Roger
yeah.
Rabbit was. You know, it's just like
Pixar, that they're funny and they have like adult style jokes.
Well, that's Disney. That's not Pixar. That do
No,
it.
yeah. But you're right.
The worst they've got is like Zangief crying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's I'm a bad guy, but I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like I say, so this is that sort of. This is probably the height of when like these companies would do it. They felt they could get away with stuff. They were pushing the envelope. Because you think as well, like not only like you say, the we've talked about it in the sense of like from a satire and this other thing, but there's a fundamental thing in this that the special effects really are the fact that we can talk about these characters and the satire and their relationships. Just go show like, I've accepted that these characters exist.
Yeah.
And it's not like they had people in mocap suits,
No,
or even tennis balls on sticks or anything to
they had
give
some
anyone
bits
an
and
art.
pieces.
But it was just
It was minimal. Like the animation in this is incredible.
Impressive, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt, you just like, but as soon as you see it, you're like, oh yeah, like they've, like you're impressed for it, especially for the time.
Yeah.
Like you kind of forget, like because we are sort of used to it now, like we're desensitized to that level of a crossover and stuff. And when you watch stuff like The Amazing World of Gumball that's on Cartoon Network now, where it's just like puppets mixed with live action, mixed with CGI, mixed with hand drawn, and it's just like kids watch that every day, like you know, without batting an eyelid. But like to think the amount of effort that goes into it, like, and to think they did a feature for it. Like when it would have been way cheaper to just been like, here's a crazy episode we're putting out, kids. It's 20 minutes long, like with no like massive.
But you're right
stars.
because now what you say, it's come so far that like say we watch War of the Planet of the Apes, or even Avengers: Infinity War, and you will look at CGI characters like Thanos or Caesar, and like you won't blink an eye. You'll just be like, that's the character, and that's fine, the CGI. But this was 30 years ago, and they weren't using, like you said, they weren't using mocap. One of the things that when you watch the special features, they highlight there were certain scenes where the special effects team built animatronics and puppets to do specific jobs.
Right.
So the scene where Roger throws back a shot of whiskey. Like there's an arm that does that. There's just a robot arm that does that. And the animators then had to animate over the top of it and round the glass.
Because I did wonder why he didn't just sort of swallow it or something. I was just like, I wonder what they were sort of doing there. Like, is it easier to just have it just go all over
pretty
the
much
place?
So there's stuff like that you just think, that is a level of like someone's had to think that through and develop it and do all the animation.
Because there's so many hurdles when you think about the production of it, of just trying to get that done, and like because you've got a real actor in there, he's doing the stuff, and then you've got everything else is like the start with the pianos. You're like, oh okay, you've got like self-playing pianos. That's like that's cool. That's I can see sort of how they did that. But as the movie progresses, you kind of forget the amount of stuff that they'd have come up to him with, like, how are we going to get this car to drive and turn around and smash through this?
Yeah.
Like,
it's one of those things. A bit like with the Candy Valley, like with those CGI characters.
Yeah.
It's not always the big things that you spot that makes it real. It's the little things.
Yeah.
So when you watch it, it's like say Roger can interact with the entire environment. Like if he bumps into a chair, the chair moves.
Yeah.
If he jumps on the bed, like the bed moves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They've thought it through, where they've said, right, it's not just a case of like he's going to be here and here and here, and then we'll animate wherever. Yeah. And they've gone like to Bob Hoskins, like look here, look here, look here.
Yeah.
They've literally gone, right, he's going to touch that, then he's going to come over here, right? So you're going to have to do this, this, and this, and then this is going to happen, and like every scene, it's rehearsing those scenes.
Oh yeah.
Must have been really arduous to get the timing spot on for the dialogue and stuff like that.
Because there's never really any moments where you're like, they kind of missed that bit.
They fluffed that.
Yeah. You're just like, it's all just seamless, isn't it?
Yeah, and you accept that there. Yeah. I mean, when I watched, watching the special features back, they cover off the two scenes they do go back to show you bits and pieces. The bar scene where Eddie Valiant has to fight the Weasels.
Yeah.
And then the other one again with the Weasels is where they break into his apartment.
Right.
And the Chief Weasel, sort of like they've got the guns. They've got
Yeah.
cause they've got real guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These animated characters have got real guns.
Yeah.
And it's waving in his face. He says, you keep talking to me like that, I'm gonna have to wash your mouth out with soap,
Yeah.
and then shoves the soap in his face, and he
yeah.
bowls over. They were showing you how they do all that, and like when the guns come in, it's literally like guns on string,
Right.
and some guy at the top of the thing, just like wobbling it along a bit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how many times did they have to do that?
Yeah.
If they were like, right, oh shit, that was bang the wall, or like
Yeah.
whatever.
I suppose that's it, 'cause
Seriously
Can't
impressive.
be the easiest
But-
thing to
well,
do.
but
No.
especially in the 80s, or 70s and 80s, like that was when Jim Henson and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like practical was just
The thing.
that's what you wouldn't expect anything else.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff at the time there was so many people doing it, I suppose, at that time, that they had more heads in the game for like, how can we do this? How can we do this? Different scene.
And that's your first
True.
go-to,
Yeah.
isn't it? Just
Yeah.
Whereas
like,
now
we'll
it's
do
just like, CG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
You gotta be
don't worry about that.
And
It's
like,
CG in
before
later.
you even finish your
CG.
sentence, like,
Pass me that tennis ball on the
CG.
stick.
Yeah.
No, CG, don't worry. This is a T-Rex.
yeah.
Yeah.
Run.
In fact, it's easier if we just CG you.
Yeah.
You're not in it anymore.
Yeah. Sorry, rips the contract. We're
Good
just
job.
going to make this a animated film now.
Yeah.
Pass me the other tennis ball on the stick.
See, just talking to you. Yeah, and it does make you sort of really appreciate like Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know much of Bob Hoskins' work other than this and probably Super Mario Brothers.
Fantastic.
To be fair, yeah.
Performance
Hook.
from
It was in
Hook.
Hook, yeah.
Yes, he became a bit of a Spielberg go-to.
He
I
did,
think.
yeah.
of-
Spielberg does have his go-tos.
Yeah.
He
So because he's Smee, isn't he?
Yeah.
But before that, like he did like British gangster films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 70s and 80s, like The Long Good Friday and all that sort of stuff.
Did he go back to them eventually as well?
I
'Cause
think
he
he
did one
did,
with
yeah.
Danny Dyer.
Yeah.
Didn't he do?
Yeah.
Was it Unchained with Jet Li? Was that
Yeah, so he's always had that like rough sort of like gangster sort of
Yeah.
thing. Going.
He was in a Shane Meadows film, wasn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Because I'm sure he filmed some of it in Burton.
Oh right.
Like my auntie
Oh
saw it
yeah,
walking,
yeah.
like walking up the road. Like
So-
he walked home
Yeah.
on this shot.
Yeah, you got to walk back.
See you
now,
later.
Bob.
Like walk to that, turn around, walk
Yeah.
back. Because the thing is, I mean, whenever I've heard things about him, especially when it was with Mario Brothers, like he sounds like a proper gruff Londoner dude.
Yeah.
And apparently, because they hated doing Super Mario Brothers so much, like him and John whatever,
Leguizamo,
yeah,
yeah.
were drunk every day.
Oh right.
They hated it that much. They would just get up, get shit faced, and then go out and do whatever needs to be done. But with this, like, I can't say no one other than like Spielberg and Bob Zemeckis could have gone to Bob Hoskins and been like, right, you're gonna play a down at heel, drunk Private Eye in the 40s.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like you're really gonna be playing the Sam Spade character. He's like, I'm loving it, I'm getting it,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're gonna be in a murder case, right? And this is gonna be like a Hollywood corporate murder case. Oh yeah, I'm loving it, it's good. Your sidekick's gonna be a rabbit. What? Yeah, it's going to be a cartoon rabbit and his animated sexy wife and and you're going to have to deal with weasels and a smoking baby.
Yeah. How's that sound, Bob?
Yeah, are you in?
Obviously.
Yeah. Where do I sign?
That's it.
Yeah, the fact that he did this must have been a bit
Well,
of a
I suppose
gamble
it's-
for him.
When Spielberg approaches an
Anybody,
actor,
especially in the
Yeah.
mid to late 80s.
it's got to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
the decision easier for him.
Yeah, so you got like the guy who made Back to the Future, and
Yeah.
then the guy who
Exactly,
basically
yeah, so
sort of
this
like
is-
run the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was no arguing on
Pretty,
this one.
pretty simple.
But I can't
decision,
imagine at
suppose.
any point when he read the script. There must have been a point where he was like rang
I
his
suppose
agent
so,
and was like, "Are
did he-
you sure about this?"
Is Hook before or after?
Hook's after. It's 93.
Yeah.
Right, so this is his first Spielberg.
Yeah.
I suppose he was just like, yeah, Spielberg. I'll just keep.
It must have been like his
Yeah.
agent must have been like, "No, like,
Just do it,
seriously,
just do it."
this is gonna
Yeah.
be gold."
I mean, if anything, they had nothing to compare it to, so they were like, "Well, we'll
Well,
take
it's
on the
not-
challenge, I suppose." And
Yeah,
then
It's one
if
of those things
if
that
fails,
sounds
it fails.
daft, but if someone told you were in a film with Mickey Mouse, Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny,
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Back
As
then,
well,
it'd be
that-
like,
yeah.
well, these are like
This
some
is
of the
who's in
most
what? It's-
famous
it's-
characters in
that's it.
history.
Do you reckon Michael Jordan ever bat an eye?
Oh man,
I was going to say, so I was going to jump. I was going
No
to
way.
jump to that. I was going to provide other examples. But like you say, when you jump,
spoiler alert.
yeah, no, but you're right. Because, like I say, when you sold this, maybe you don't tell them the story. You go,
Yeah.
it's a Disney film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? They've got all their characters in it. It's so big, like Spielberg's managed to get that Warner Brothers are also chipping in,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you would be like, right, all right,
Yeah.
this
No
is
worries.
a big deal.
Yeah.
I've got to be in on this one.
Maybe he was just a big fan of cartoons.
Maybe it'll be.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like, I want to be in this film.
Yeah.
He went,
Do I get to be
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
No, Bob. It's not. It's not like that. All right. Do I get to wear a Mickey Mouse T-shirt? No, look, Bob. You'll get your costume, all right? But no, yeah, because this film, like I say, it wasn't imitated. It was that unprecedented.
Yeah.
It wasn't imitated for a long time. The only two I could come up with that are close, and the first thing the first thing that came to my mind is the Aha video.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone loves that.
Yeah.
That goes down.
And that sort of is a similar deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
granted, like you said, a much shorter sort of. We'll do this. It's a much
Yeah.
shorter thing, but there's a part that wonders like some of the technology they developed for that must have then gone on to be like, right, well, let's watch this video,
Yeah.
and then they've done a similar thing.
well, I mean, Disney was doing it, wasn't he, in like the 60s?
He was
like
trying
his
stuff.
informational videos
Yeah.
with Mickey, didn't he? So
Yeah, but never as convincing.
Because
But yeah,
all it is drawing out how it's made
Yeah.
simplifying an amazing thing.
painting
but-
a cell on top.
yeah,
of
so
a
it's
piece
not
of film.
necessarily a complicated idea. It probably is a process that's complicated, but it's just a lot of work, isn't it?
Oh
So
yeah,
I
it's
suppose
because
you
they're all hand animated. That's the
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? It's that each frame is hand animated.
yeah,
But you're right. But I mean, the two like beyond it, the two that I think of, and one sort of starts I think to lurch into the CG, at least assisted realm
yeah.
later on. But the first one is Cool World
Oh yeah.
Cool,
with
yeah.
Brad Pitt, which
Yeah.
I actually watched not too long ago.
I think I watched like the first 10 minutes. And
Yeah, I
was
don't recommend it.
This
It's awful.
like, this is really hard to
Yeah.
watch.
It is. It literally it is
Yeah.
hard to
I had
watch.
to turn it off.
It's not
I
good.
thought I was like, this is right on my street. Cartoons
Nope.
Yeah.
and people.
Yeah.
Let's watch it.
My
Things
two
I
favourite
enjoy.
things.
It's where this is up. It's one of those things where Roger Rabbit, like you say, nails the satire and
Yeah.
keeps it relatively grounded in many
Yeah.
worlds. Like that goes the other way. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna have a zany, crazy plot and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't work.
And it's
in
they're all the
any
bits
way.
that they're not. That you can tell he's not with them all the time.
No, because he lives in He lives in the animated
But I
world.
mean, in filming, you can see him like, whoa.
Yeah,
it
he's
doesn't
not a
feel
good
like
actor.
it's not the same way.
The fact he's become one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Because you are not good in this. Cool World is a bad film.
Yeah.
It's a bad name, to be fair.
I know,
It is.
yeah.
Oh, it's like pretentiously like, oh, we are cool.
Yeah.
World.
All right, well
Okay.
I'll accept that. And because in Cool World, the one thing that really made me uncomfortable is it clearly highlights that there's a sexual relationship between a real person and a toon character.
Yeah.
And even it's insinuated in Roger Rabbit in little bits,
Yeah.
in little ways.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, meh,
Yeah.
I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
In the Cool World, you say, no, I'm really uncomfortable with this. Because this looked pervy.
It's quite funny in Roger Rabbit, isn't it? Because they
Yeah.
like this, you sort of like it's off camera. You sort of
it's
hear,
tongue in cheek, isn't it?
you sort of
Yeah.
hear it. It's just like,
Aware.
oh, will you take the hand buzzer off first?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's the
like-
patter
Yeah,
cake.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, that's
Like-
weird.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
And obviously the more recent version was I would now say, divisive Space Jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, when I was a kid and watched it, I remember thinking, this is quite cool and it's
Yeah.
funny.
It was the greatest film I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever when I first watched it.
But then I think if I was to watch it now, I think I was like, this
It's
is
still pretty good.
Is
it?
My last memory of it is like, this
Yeah.
is a good film.
Loads of people. Like, it's funny. It's got like such a divided community online.
Some people hate
people
it.
Really?
Full on hate
Yeah,
it.
What?
really. But then there's others that are petitioning for a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Did you know also little Easter egg nugget of information. If you were to Google the Space Jam website, it hasn't been updated since 1990 something, like 1998.
And it's still there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's got all these like little like it looks like an early internet website.
Like just text font.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's worth visiting just as a time capsule.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that it was clearly like they'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Someone found it and was like, look at this, and they were like, we should really keep it.
I bet they get loads of hits on it still,
and
that's why they just keep it.
Yeah, and they probably will. Everyone go look at it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is funny. It is.
This sort of pixelated version of like Michael Jordan. It's a pretty bad image. But that again was actually, it's got a lot of cameos in, and the music in that film's actually really cool. I do like the music in that film. I had the album for years.
Yeah.
And it goes to show, like, but again, Michael Jordan, you know, and some of those aren't, I would say, you know, he's not on the caliber of Bob Hoskins. Yeah. So whilst I think
not quite,
no. So whilst Bob Hoskins is selling you, and he's like, you know, that's where the eye line is, and that's how he reacts, and he's got the full physicality. Doesn't quite sell it with Michael Jordan. His eyes sort of flick up and down.
Yeah.
He's like, "All right, Bugs."
Yeah, I think like it's one of those things. I was definitely the perfect age when it came out.
Yeah, same there.
What year did it come out? Is it 96?
Something like that. Yeah, 90s.
That'd have been like 7.
Yeah, like 97 possibly. I think it was about 97.
About 7.
Yeah,
so
if only there was a way to find out. But it was.
Maybe like basketball way more as well.
Yeah, and like Michael Jordan will forever be the best basketball player in history.
Yeah, I mean,
because the time he won.
the
most important basketball game in history.
Yes,
against the Monstars.
Yeah, I mean,
Monstars. Yeah. So Space Jam was 1996.
96,
But it was a night. It really was like, you know. So you have like Roger Rabbit, Cool World, Space Jam.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it sort of like goes away for quite a while.
Yeah.
I think Looney Tunes they
did a
have
sequel,
another one, didn't they?
Yeah, with Brendan Fraser in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That is really bad.
I never watched it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
But I think that's why it died out, because it was one of those things. I think it was very expensive to do from a process point of view, and because of the birth of like CG and stuff, like they were moving on to other things.
Yeah.
I think it'd be worth revisiting it though. I think it would play. I think it would sell.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe like Roger Rabbit, like, do you reckon they sort of envisioned the fact that the cartoons as they were dying out, which is why they sort of did this as a way to sort of like re-establish everyone and sort of like have a little cartoon revival?
I think it was. I think this slightly predates. In fact, I'll check, because the thing as well that happened at the end of the 80s was Disney had a revival.
But wasn't it 89?
I'm thinking it was
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid was 89. So the next year, so they were working on it.
That was the first one to sort of bring back Little Mermaid. Onwards.
Then you get like Little Mermaid, and you get Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and all those, and Aladdin. So they get the resurgence in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Of Disney, and I think you're right. I think this was a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
And I think if Little Mermaid hadn't have paid off, it would not surprise me if they'd have gone down, you know, another route. Like the shorts and stuff would have paid off, because Roger Rabbit did get 3 cartoons in addition to the film. Like they got 3 short.
They were on the start of other films, weren't they?
Yeah, and they played them at the start of other films throughout the year and stuff. In fact, there was one before
Space Jam.
I can't remember Space Jam. I remember there was definitely one at the start.
No, because it's Disney in it.
So. There's one at the start of Roger Rabbit. So I remember when I saw this at the cinema, there was a Roger Rabbit cartoon. And then it was like they went to start for another one. I was like, you get 2? When's the bloody film start? And then the fit goes into the film. But that's a really good idea. Like, you were literally advertising your film, your character. But, you know, Roger Rabbit had a life beyond the film a little bit. But yeah, they definitely saw, I think they saw potential in expanding this beyond the film.
Yeah. It's amazing that they didn't do more just Roger Rabbit cartoons.
No,
like more than just that many. Because you can still do them now, and even if it was just the little short ones, you'd be like, oh yeah, another little Roger Rabbit.
Like, just sort of throw them out every now and then. And they could have maintained, like they say, the status of the film. Because the thing to remember as well is, we should highlight, this is based on a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Gary T. Wolfe or something like that. Who it was called Who Censored Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
Is the book. And and he wrote it as a bit of a. I don't know what to describe it really. I haven't read it, and I do want to read it. I've got it on my Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
For anyone out there who wants to buy me anything,
Send 3 copies.
but it's one of those things that sort of like it's weird that you sort of think, oh, they actually, this was a book, but the book itself isn't like a kid friendly book. It's a proper like darker novel, and the ending's different. In that it doesn't have the happy ending. It does play out more like a noir film.
Yeah.
And so Gary K. Wolfe, the guy's name was. And so when the Disney bought the rights, they obviously wanted to change it. And I think from what I understand, he was perfectly happy about that because he was like, that big fat Disney check coming my way.
Yeah.
Do what you want. But he did write 2 sequels.
All right.
Now, he wrote 2 sequels with the full support of Disney. So the sequels he wrote aren't good, if I'm honest.
Really?
Right now, I've read about them. Okay, so first off, he wanted to write a sequel to his book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Disney said no. We don't see there's any. You can't do much for that. I want you to spoil the book. I know it's different, but you can't technically because certain characters don't make it.
Yeah.
So he wrote sequels to the film.
Yeah.
So he wrote Who Whacked Roger Rabbit,
Right.
and Who Plugged Roger Rabbit. Right? You can see that the influence is coming up.
Yeah.
Because as well, like the character, the guy, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who does the voice of Roger Rabbit, started to bring it. As you can imagine, any voice actor brought his own inflections, his own ideas, and stuff. So the sort of the please and all that kind of stuff was his. Like he brought all that.
Yeah.
So for it then to appear in the title of a sequel, you can clearly see there's the Disney influence. If I put it this way, on Amazon, just to give it a bit of context. Who Censored Roger Rabbit, the original book, it's got 4.5 stars based on 27 reviews. Right? Which I'd say is it's not many reviews, but as an average, that's not bad. Right? So, Who Plugged Roger Rabbit, 2 stars based on 5 reviews. We're starting to trail.
Yeah.
Who Whacked Roger Rabbit, the third one, has got, again, 2.5 stars based on 2 reviews.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the sequels start to pay less and less out.
Yeah.
And then they start.
Only 2 people stuck with it.
Yeah,
From
pretty
the
much. Yeah.
original.
Who Whacked Roger Rabbit? No one. It was rubbish. It was but they're actually sequels to the film. So because he couldn't continue, they are actually sequels to the film rather than the book. And I think there were people that were fans of the book that when they picked up the sequels were like, "What's this?"
Yeah.
Like I think in the Who Plugged Roger Rabbit. I can't really keep saying that.
Quite good it as well.
Yeah.
There is a mini version of Jessica, like literally a shrunken version of Jessica Rabbit and stuff like that. And it's weird. She becomes, I don't know if like she maybe becomes a sex doll or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like yeah. But apparently that's the thing. Like then the first book is pretty dark, and they have to take that into film. And then these ones are like for kids.
Yeah. I wonder. I mean,
sold out.
It might be one. Like you say though, if you sort of went into the books knowing there were sequels to the film instead.
I wonder how it would
they be as bad as?
It's one of those weird things that Disney and there's a weird thing in the 80s that this happened, and in the 90s really, this happened more than I don't think it ever happened now. Of like films that were quite successful then becoming sequels in book form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 sequels to Willow as well.
Really?
Yeah, George Lucas went and wrote 2 sequels to Willow, and the first one I think started as a screenplay.
Yeah.
And they looked at it and were like, no, this is not way too expensive.
Yeah.
Willow didn't make enough money for this, George.
Yeah.
He's like, well, don't make some more Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Screw you. And would have made Ewoks.
Yeah, it's heading in the right place.
Yeah, it was clearly in a good place. But then he turned it into a book, and then he wrote. There was another one that got turned into a book. Now the screenplays that he wrote, because they were both based on screenplays, were turned into books by Chris Claremont.
All right.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is like, but that's what I'm saying. That's a weird thing about the 80s. Like Chris Claremont wrote 2 books for Willow based on George Lucas scripts.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Blade Runner has 3 sequels, regardless of 2049.
Yeah.
Written by K.W. Jeter,
Right.
which again, like they follow sort of the film and the book, so there's this sort of cross pollination between the two. And in one of them, Roy Batty comes back as a voice activated suitcase. Like a robot, like his intelligent, like his conscious in this sort of weird suitcase.
It's really high caliber stuff then, really.
To be fair, right, I'll be honest with you. I've read 3 Blade Runner sequels.
Yeah.
And the first one, the first direct sequel, is actually really good.
Yeah.
Like he clearly got the tone, and they get gradually worse.
Yeah.
Like not gradually, sorry, they just get worse. So by the third one, I was a bit like, I'm not sure why I'm even reading this anymore.
It's harder to keep reading a bad book than watching a film or something.
But it just seems to happen. Like it's a thing that seemed to happen in the sort of the 80s and the 90s. That there were follow-on films, follow-on books. But I just think it's we could have done sequels, but when you read the books, they were clearly Disney was latching onto the kiddiness rather than the satire.
Yeah. I suppose because film franchises weren't
a thing then.
Yeah. No, you get trilogies maybe, but now it's like they wouldn't let them do that because it's like, no, well, we can get 50 films out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but we've already talked about like all the potential for the things you could do for a shared toon universe.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it would happen now because people are so protective about their IPs. You know that they just
money into it.
Yeah, they just would not give them up. Like Warner Brothers would not allow.
No.
Well, to be fair, they did it for obviously for Ready Player One. There's a you know because you see it's a Warner Brothers film, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do see like there's an awful lot of like DC characters in there and Iron Giant clearly and all those other things. But every now and then you do see others from other studios and things. I think they had to pay out for things like the Mecha Godzilla and for the what's the robot at the end? The Gundam.
Yeah.
They had to pay out for all that kind of stuff, and there was clearly collaboration there. But there was no way you were going to see a Mickey Mouse or a Donald Duck in that film. Like it just would not happen in this day and age.
That's just kind of how people operate now, isn't it? It's like they've discovered that like those things that you hold, like you have those cards, and like as soon as you give them away, like they stop generating money for you. Like
why would we give you this for you to make money?
Like, what we'll do is make the exact same film but with our characters.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what you end up with.
That's it.
But it works.
We're going to call it Ready Player Jeff. Makes no sense. Don't care. Everyone's going to make $1 billion.
I mean, it's the same reason we still have like 3 video games consoles because no one's happy to just be like use our stuff. Everyone holds onto the stuff.
Like, I was amazed by that because I'm not a gamer and I'm so removed from it. And I want to sort of understand it more, but I was seeing loads of people talking about the new God of War, God of War game, and I saw the trailer for it and I was like, man, that looks badass.
Yeah.
That looks awesome. And then it was like only on PS4. And I was like, oh, maybe they're selling it as a part of a package thing. Like no, it's only on PS4. Like so, if you've got an Xbox, you cannot play that game.
Yeah.
And so I now understand why you get like really hard gamers who've got like, no, I've got 12 consoles, 18 screens.
That's it.
I'm like,
and that's why you get sort of like people that love one console and hate another. Oh yeah, I love this because it's got that one game I like on it. Yeah, it's weird. It's not weird because it works. It's the same in films. Yeah,
like I see that mentality with like with Marvel versus MCU versus DC.
Yeah,
it's the same mentality.
Yeah. But it's not the same with like Blu-ray players or DVD players or
no. I've only like Sony.
Yeah, it's which is weird because I don't think they make that much money off consoles, do they?
No.
As far as they can't because those things must cost a fortune to make.
Maybe just make it off the online.
Yeah.
Membership fees.
I bet the games like the discs and stuff are pretty cheap to make, aren't they?
Oh yeah, no, those are really cheap. Like it's the content. I mean, it's all it's the actual game content that makes all the money. Because again, I'm so far removed. Like when you see you hear about extension packs and they're releasing an update to the game or an upgrade. I'm like, why don't you just put out a decent game to begin with? I just don't. I've got no insight into that world. So, like I am the newbie when it comes to that. I'm like, why don't it's like the Nightmare Out. No, that's the Friday the 13th game.
Yeah.
And they keep releasing new bits to it, and I'm like, what was it not finished? And they're like, no, they're just extending it.
It's like you can keep paying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
paying
I
for the
didn't,
game
and that was
over
what
and over
someone explained it to me. He's like, I know you have to keep buying new.
Yeah.
You buy the extension, or you buy the new skins for things. And it's like, wow, they got you over a fucking barrel, haven't they? They really have.
That's how they do it now.
I'll stick with films.
Yeah.
And I'll buy it on Blu-ray and digital. So I do think this film was really of its time. I do not think it could happen again, which is a shame because I do think, I think there is potential for more to happen for this. And we've talked about the tunes. I do want to give real credit to the live action cast in this film. And we've really bigged up Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
But I think Christopher Lloyd
he's
deserves some real credit for being...
He's the missing link, isn't he?
Literally, like with the link between the two. But his Judge Doom is so good.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, that's
but
the one
also
thing that
quite
I remember.
funny. Yeah, that's like you don't see that now. Your villain's either funnier or not terrifying. You don't really get that anymore. But
I do like that he dips into humour every now and then.
Yeah. But not enough for you to not be scared of him.
Yeah. Oh no, he's
still
proper freaking.
The end bit, like that was one of the few things I remember from like ever watching it, like where he sort of like inflates himself and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that was nightmarish when I was a child.
Horrible.
I was just like, there's something wrong with that. And then like when his eyes are all red again and his voice changes.
Remember me when I
like,
killed your brother?
you're like, no,
Jesus,
no.
And then he just starts like wailing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
when he's being when the rolling thing.
Oh,
goes
that's a
over
horrible
it.
noise.
Yeah, and that's all Christopher Lloyd going for it. And the fact that, like you say, because again he's a Spielberg Zemeckis alum. That's not Doc Brown.
No.
There's no connection between them. Like that's it. You know what I mean?
It's easy to forget he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah.
He's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Christopher
Him
Lloyd.
and Danny DeVito in that.
Yeah.
And all you think of him is their sort of zanier characters, but
I think Christopher Lloyd is an underrated actor. I think the things he's done.
Especially you don't really see him now.
No, he's obviously
you see him in a lot of
but...
rubbish stuff now.
And like
It's
the
just
Piranhas or something weird like that.
Yeah, he pops up in things, doesn't he? But I just think he's so good in it. And the other thing I'll say as well, because at the end, like you say, when you find out, spoilers, when you find out that Judge Doom is a tune, and it's revealed, modern studio or a modern studio note would be, well, when do we get to see what he actually looks like?
Yeah.
Like you never see him as a tune.
No.
You never see him as a tune.
Which I always think this is amazing because, like, if they ever did want to do something now, it's just like we never saw what he looked like. So it's just like, you could go back and like,
there could be
so
something.
Much, so much they could do.
That
the little bit of information.
Scary.
Because that's it. Because when Bob Hoskins or when Eddie Valiant gives the backstory of why he hates Toontown, and that's quite. Again, quite heartfelt. That's one of the great things about saying it's a real felt out world.
Yeah.
Like he says, I never got to see the guy. All I could hear was his voice.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to ever see his face. Like it's in them. But the fact he can turn his eyes into daggers and springs from his feet and all sorts of this tune is awesome. But it still comes back to the point, and this is the thing that I find curious. Because you said about what jobs they do normally. In the film, you find that Droopy Dog is an elevator, which is amazing. Going up the sir. But someone's drawn them.
Yeah.
Like Jessica Rabbit was drawn. Droopy Dog was drawn. They've all got jobs, but they were drawn. Someone's created them. Who the fuck created the tune that became Judge Doom? Does it have to be an animator, or did some psychopath just sort of like, was a skilled animator sketch something like that? What was he created for? Like, was he in a cartoon? Was he a failed thing? It's like, there's so much background. None of it. You don't need to know any of it.
No.
But I've still got those questions. I'm like, and that's partly why I love the film. Cause
I think going back to like performances as well. When you think about Roger Rabbit, he's a voice actor. That played Roger Rabbit. It's not someone you necessarily.
No.
It's not like a star. But now, if they made that film now. It'd be like Chris Rock.
Oh yeah.
God.
And it would just be
Chris Rock.
It wouldn't be like please. It would be like
it wouldn't be
please.
Oh man, Kevin Hart.
And it would just be.
I agree with that because again, I sort of when I see animated films and they've got like a famous person doing
Yeah.
it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, to give 2 examples of where it works, The Rock playing the character in Moana,
Yeah.
it kind of works because
Yeah.
he is of that descent. Like he is
Yeah.
playing something from his own ancestry. I kind of get that. That
Yeah.
works for me.
Yeah.
Because he looks like The Rock. He's not playing
Well,
against
I
time.
mean,
He's literally
this-
playing The Rock in a cartoon.
It's not. He doesn't
Fine.
really do anything with it though. Does
No,
he?
and
They
that's
could
what
have
I'm
got anyone else
Yeah.
to do that.
But it's the selling point for that whole thing was
Yeah.
it's The Rock.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
But then there's other ones like I recently watched the Sinbad cartoon from the sort of early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And like it's about halfway through I'm like, oh yeah, it's Brad Pitt. And then I can't stop hearing it. And I'm
Really?
like, but there's no point to it being Brad
Yeah,
Pitt. Like
it's
it
just
was
a
never a
name
selling
to
point.
pull
Yeah,
you in.
it was never a selling point.
yeah.
He's not a great voice actor.
Yeah.
And he's not like like with The Rock, he's got like some sort of like charisma, and
Yeah.
he'll take the mickey of himself. None of that.
Yeah.
It's just Brad Pitt
Yeah.
doing
I
the
always
voice.
think,
Him and Brad Pitt should never be involved with cartoons.
Yeah, that's the real aim of this episode.
the
is
lesson
just to
is-
berate
yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt,
His
you.
acting's good.
I always think like
Ruined
sort of a
cartoons.
unsung, like high build actor that actually does a voice. Bradley Cooper
Yeah.
as Rocket Raccoon
Yeah,
because
wouldn't
he
that
actually
be-
does the voice.
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Like again, like I say, it's not they're not billionaires and Bradley Cooper.
No.
Like, he has become Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
And I think that's like ballsy of him. To be
Yeah.
fair.
And of course, Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. Which really puts so much into it.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
even
To
does
become
teenage.
to be yeah.
Teenage
Yeah, he does
voices.
He
teenage
did.
group.
He did.
Yeah.
To be fair to him,
It's like his best. It's his best role.
It's-
Second only to Iron Giant.
yeah, I was just saying,
Superman.
yeah. Dude, I love the fact that Vin Diesel has become. I admit that he's become a bit of a joke. So for him to do Groot, and he's
Yeah.
like, but when you see Bradley Cooper does Rocket Raccoon, he
Yeah.
becomes the character,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just accept and you go with it. And Bradley Cooper's not all over social media saying oh, I did this, I did that.
No,
Here's
yeah.
the voice.
Yeah.
And then all he's got to do is say, I'm Groot. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden he appears on social media like, I did it
Yeah.
4,000
I know,
times
he's
in
like-
different inflections. I'm
Yeah.
like,
How long did that take?
yeah,
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Less than a day.
I also
4,000
did-
seconds,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I also did it in 6 languages. And at first you think, that's pretty impressive. Then you realise he goes, I am Groot.
Yeah.
In Japanese
Yeah.
is Hontiwa.
Yeah.
You think, well, that's clean up. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's racist. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a stretch.
Yeah.
No.
But
to
also,
learn those
like, isn't
three-
Groot like a made-up word?
Yeah.
So it's just like
Yeah.
it's just saying
Yeah.
I am.
It's always going to be. It's Groot in every language.
Yeah.
So basically, you can't say you've learned to say I am Groot in 12 languages because you've learned
I
not
am.
even 3 years. You've learned.
Or, I mean,
You've
it might
basically
be
learned
even
the
like
phrase.
I'm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
I'm.
some of them.
I'm Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Groot.
Yeah.
Je
Yeah.
m'appelle Groot.
Yeah.
It would be, wouldn't
It would be.
Yeah.
That does make me want to watch it
Yeah,
in
it
French.
is.
I don't want to see it.
I wonder if he,
It's sort of like
if he really
keep
puts it
switching up
on.
the language while you're watching it.
Je
Like,
suis Groot. That would just get a go Finn.
Yeah.
To be fair, because he made a big deal out of being the Iron Giant. I remember the thing
Yeah.
when he started coming up, he's like,
Yeah.
I was the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
he doesn't
And you're
really
just
say
like,
much.
so basically, the grunting that they've edited out of the first Fast and the Furious film, they just edited in
Yeah.
to the Iron Giant.
So
Yeah. Oh,
no
yeah.
one's like saying he hasn't got a great deep voice.
Yeah.
No, the
But
guy's
it's
got a
not-
gravelly voice.
But that's his voice.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything to get that
No.
voice
No.
other than
Yeah.
Well, let's be
Yeah,
honest as
it's
well.
long.
But let's be honest as well. Right?
maybe he smokes
Let's-
like 20 fags a day
Yeah.
just to keep it
Just
up.
punches himself in the
Yeah.
throat
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Throat exercise. He gets Jason Statham to
Yeah.
plunk it one every day. But let's not kid ourselves, right? For both Groot and Rocket, there's going to be an element of computer-aided synthesization that goes through the synthesis. So, and again, Bradley Cooper would be probably like, yeah, this is what I do, and that's the end result.
Yeah.
Right? He would probably admit that. Vin would be like, no, it's all me.
Yeah.
Groot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Vin.
Yeah.
Even baby Groot. Even baby. Yeah, and I have to admit, I think actors. I know we're going to Guardians, but I think Vin Diesel's a prick. Is basically what I boil it down to. Because I think like at least like, when you watch like Dave Bautista, you know, like Dave Bautista, clearly willing to take the piss out of himself as well. Like willing to give it his all, wears all that makeup, you know, keeps him really amazing shape for a guy of his age. I mean, no, for his age, like the guy's in his late 40s. Yeah. And he's willing to do it and give it his all and stuff. But you don't see him like all over the place going, yeah, man, I just give it all that and I did this. No, he just does it and he loves it.
Yeah. Didn't he cry when he got the role?
Yeah, I think he did. That was really. And I think because he doesn't overstretch himself. He knows what he is and he just does it and he does it well. And I just think with Vin Diesel, I think you're just so full of shit. Yeah. That you think you're bigger than you are. You know. Yeah.
I think he has to be to keep getting paid though.
Yeah. Well, the fact they're now doing a XXX3. XXX4 because there is. I keep forgetting that. The fact that he was like, I don't do sequels, and then the Fast and Furious came along.
I only do sequels.
That was like, Can I speak to Vin Diesel? Because that's the funny thing, really, isn't it? Because they did XXX and they did Fast and the Furious. And he made a real stance. He was like, I don't do sequels. Yeah. So you get 2 Fast 2 Furious, where they introduced Tyrese Gibson. Yeah. And then they did XXX2 with... Is it?
Ice Cube.
And then they did Chronicles of Riddick.
And then they...
With him.
Yeah. And then something clearly happened where they were both...
Because that was his, wasn't he? Like, came up with Pitch Black, didn't he?
Well, Pitch Black was him and somebody else. But even then, he said, no, it was only... he wasn't going to do it.
Oh, it was a prequel as well.
Yeah. But he did Pitch Black. And again, he was like, no sequels, is it? Because Chronicles comes after some of the others. Yeah. There's clearly a period where they're like, okay, well, thank you, Vin, we'll call you. Yeah. And he's like, what? Yeah. No, I was the Iron Giant. Yeah. Yeah. Well done. Thank you very much for that. You've had your time in the sun.
Sequels?
Bugger off. Yeah. I'll come back for 3. No, but we're doing it in Japan. Yeah. I'll appear at the end of 3. If you pay me, I've got to pay my rent.
That's it.
And that's it. Like all of a sudden, now all he does is sequels. Yeah. Like XXX4. If you're in your 40s and you're trying to do an extreme spy film, that you're something wrong.
Well, I thought he had gold with Witch Hunter.
Jesus.
But some people just
wait. Witch Hunter 2 is coming.
It's got to, hasn't it?
And in that one, right, he's going to learn to say Witch Hunter.
It's going to be
5 different languages.
It's going to be like the Nutty Professor, but with Vin Diesel doing different voices for different CG
I
characters.
think it was a pacifier that broke.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, because I think he thought he was going to be like the new Arnie or the new Stallone, and he was going to be like, I can do comedy, I can do that, and they did that, and it was like, I hated doing that. I want to go back and do these. Yeah.
Hulk Hogan suddenly felt pretty good about Mr. Nanny after the pacifier. Just sat back and was like, yes.
Tell you what, brother, we've all been there.
when Hulk Hogan is giving you sympathy, you know you're at a low point.
And then The Rock does the Tooth Fairy, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, that's it. It's like,
I think that's it. I swear to God, right? I swear to God, that's where that beef comes from. Yeah. Right? You know, there's the beef between like Vin Diesel and The Rock.
He's jealous of the Tooth Fairy.
I think that's where it comes from. That like Vin Diesel has to do these sort of like B-rate crappy action films, but The Rock can literally go away and be like, I've done a really gritty film called The Snitch. Where I have to save my son from some smugglers who are trying to get stuff across the board. I was like, fair play, Rock. You're trying to stretch yourself. What are you going to follow up with? I play an American footballer who finds out I've got a daughter. It's a great comedy and high shenanigans. Like, what's it called? We've got a game plan. Oh wow, go for it, Rock. Never does anything wrong. But was it a good film? No, it's a terrible film. Even I'm going to admit it. But you know what?
People love it.
Yeah, but you know what? I raise an eyebrow in it, flex an arm, and the girl's adorable.
There you go.
You'll pay for it. You're right, Rock. I will. Pay the money.
Yeah, now,
ridiculous.
My favourite Vin Diesel, just anything I think, is the fact that is the Wheelman, the Xbox 360 like video game, which was designed to be like the predecessor to a film called The Wheelman. I was going to say,
wasn't it going to be a multimedia thing?
Yeah, because I'm sure he'd established his own video games company, and then the film never came out. Yeah. So
the game was terrible.
You play in a game that's based on a film you're never ever going to see. So like,
didn't they make the Riddick game? Before that, and then that's what led
there's a game. So because again, because I think the whole Riddick thing is a multimedia thing.
Yeah, because he did an animated.
Right.
using his voice acting skills
Of
once
course.
again.
Because he was
Yeah.
flexing.
Yeah.
"Ooh, how many languages do you want this in? Just English, please, Vin. Because let's be honest, no one's gonna watch this.
Riddick.
Just like just
Ich
French
bin
off the
von Riddick. But yeah, because they did the Pitch Black and then the Chronicles of Riddick, and then they felt there was a moment where they had to explain something, and it was clear. Well, the Animatrix did really well.
Yeah.
So Riddick needs something similar. Yeah, Vin Diesel,
Yeah.
man. To be fair, I will give him credit. Like, he's managed to create a career out of like just basically
Yeah.
like his own willpower.
Yeah.
Because like nobody else, like
Hollywood's Green Lantern.
Have you seen?
seriously, like, that's it. How did that film get made? He just willed it into existence.
It's just got a ring with the
Yeah.
Iron Giant on it.
That's it. People I can imagine the studios like, who greenlit Triple X4? And I don't know. Nobody knows. But we appear to have.
Je m'appelle Vin Diesel.
Ich bin von Triple X. But it's like, yeah, who's greenlit this? Nobody. But we're paying for it. I don't know how. Yeah, he just the force of the man's will.
He
Fair play to
remortgaged
him.
his house
Yeah.
for Riddick, didn't he?
Did it?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh man.
To pay for it.
Well, that explains why he's still paying out for the Fast and
That's right.
Furious
That's
films.
why he no longer has a house.
Where's Vin? In a box out the back.
Yeah.
But he's on like Fast and Furious 8. Yeah, he's still paying.
He's in a box that he's got to share with
Yeah.
1 million copies of Riddick.
It's made of all those.
Made of copies of Riddick.
Here's all those copies of Riddick no one
I
bought.
call this Riddick Castle.
That's it, yeah.
The-
Riddick Villa. Let's
or-
move on from
Yeah.
bashing Vin Diesel. I do
Stuck
feel
in it,
I feel
stuck in it.
I feel like I'm in a
Yeah.
Diesel trope here.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
The point being, I thought Bradley Cooper did alright.
He did,
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
But that's
Actually,
voice
that's the
acting.
first voice acting I've seen an actual actor do in
Yeah.
a very long time.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, and I think it's
Yeah.
a really good point because the other one to call out in this is Kathleen Turner, who is Jessica Rabbit,
Yeah.
and like again, she's the only sort of celebrity voice, but it's not a selling
Yeah.
point. Like,
No.
at no point they're like, and Kathleen Turner.
Yeah.
It's like
And she's still doing a voice.
Yeah.
It's not like
yeah,
it's her, not her
She's
voice.
making her voice slightly huskier and doing a
Yeah.
sexy version. But she was clearly brought on board because she had that voice.
Yeah.
Like they didn't bring her on because of her name.
No, yeah.
She could be that femme fatale voice. And I think that's what you're right. That's what I'm saying. So I think
Yeah.
the whole cast in this is spot on.
Yeah.
I think everyone really brings their A game. And like I said, you know, they did like, the Blu-ray of it was a 25th anniversary edition. But it's weird that I don't. Although, like I said, when I put this out to Twitter, I got a lot of love for this film. Like people were really praising how how much they loved it as a kid, and oh yeah, I should go back and watch it and all this other stuff. The fact it doesn't get talked about often is actually kind of weird, really, when you think about it. Like when you talk about, I mean, granted, Spielberg is only an executive producer on it, but he's clearly like, heavily involved. And but when you have like big films of the 80s, like, I don't think it gets talked about as much as it should do.
Yeah.
Now, everyone talks about like the really big ones, like your Back to the Future and some of the Indiana Jones films, your Ghostbusters,
franchises.
Yeah.
yeah,
All of them
true.
It's
And
like,
that's it. Like,
the
because
80s is the sort of
birth of the franchise,
yeah.
and because this, you're right, maybe because this did get a follow up,
Yeah.
it just doesn't get
That's
the
it.
attention.
If there
I
was
think it deserves.
3 and the other 2 were absolute turd,
Yeah.
then people would remember it.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Like
It's
there's
weird.
not enough content to enjoy.
Yeah.
So I think we'll start wrapping up on it. But the big thing is then, so Roger Rabbit actually, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, is actually a cracking film
Yeah, I think so.
and
Oh, yeah.
deserves some attention.
Yeah.
We didn't even do the plot, and I don't think it's worth doing the plot. Because I don't really want to spoil everything about it.
Yeah.
But I think the animations are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the casting's great. I think the acting's amazing. Even
Because they brought their own stuff as well. There's characters in it. There's all sorts of new characters that, if you can remember these characters, when Donald and Daffy are having a flipping piano off,
literally on a knife fight.
yeah, while the wolf from Droopy's like having an argument with Bob Hoskins,
Yeah.
and you still remember. You remember Roger Rabbit, you remember Jessica Rabbit, you remember the taxi, you remember the bullets.
Yeah.
All these new things still
Stand out.
they feel like part of the world as well.
Yeah.
and everything they do in the film feels like in character.
Yeah.
Daffy and Donald having that, it wasn't like
They weren't
you would
shooting
only
it.
see that in this film.
Yeah.
That's exactly how you would imagine it to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And that's a really good point. They keep it honest. Like they don't change any of the characters.
They don't just do it for. It's not just
For a
look
gag.
at these.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, though it is funny, Wreck-It Ralph and stuff like that. That's what they always do. Just like, oh, look at these characters. Zangi's crying.
Yeah.
He's a big man with a hairy chest.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys are doing everything. Like
It's in
even Bessie
character.
Boo is
It's
in
in
character.
character.
They've kept-
Yeah. Which is a really good point that they keep
Yeah.
it honest to keep it in character.
That's what's so genuine. That's why the Toontown feels real.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing you make. One of the good things about this film is, 'cause, I mean, I've got questions up the wazoo about like, well, how the hell did this happen? Like, if you were to make it like real, but you are literally just dropped into this world where they're like, oh yeah, in Los Angeles, oh yeah, it literally sides next to an animated town,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everybody's fine with that.
Yeah. they accept it.
Yeah.
So you accept. You don't even question it. You're just like, I'm with the concept.
Yeah.
But I suppose even like Space Jam. That's even if you don't like it. What's good about it is they still Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Still Daffy Duck. Still
Yeah.
Taz.
They're honest to
They
the character.
still go about the way that they do stuff in the way that it was. Like,
Yeah, I mean that is definitely like a cartoon film. But no, I think you're right. I think they keep it this honest. They keep the characters honest, and they stay to what they are. Because they could have like been and shown like that Bugs Bunny's actually like
Yeah, they could have made him like a serial womanizer and a drunk.
Yeah,
But
and gone too
you
far the
wouldn't-
other way.
yeah,
But then you wouldn't buy into it.
No, and you'd just be like, right, that's this film. I don't believe that this is real now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it becomes sort of like a weird Elseworld
just a
story
gag, it's
that
just
you
a-
just
yeah.
don't want any part of.
It's
That's
just
it.
it's all it becomes at that point is a couple of people sitting in a room saying, "Wouldn't it be funny if it was this?"
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately what
Yeah,
happens
so-
with a lot of comedies and stuff today.
You can just imagine someone coming up. It's not convincing.
Would you? Well, if you were to give it a rating out of 10, because what I'm going to do is sort of tap off all these with a rate. Well, if you were to give like Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a rating out of 10.
It'd be high.
Yeah, out of 10.
Probably like 8. I'd give it.
Yeah?
A
solid 8.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
so.
Yeah, I'd probably say an 8 as well. I mean,
Eight's a
like,
good number.
yeah, other than just general little bits and pieces, and like, I mean, there isn't another film like it, and like, and I don't think we'll get one because I mean, the merge into CGI was not as graceful, was it? Like people started using it to do bits and pieces. And
there are some films where you go, oof, that's not dated.
Like you go back now and it's like,
But I think
it
it
hurts
does-
you, doesn't it?
You
Like,
do, you
it's
go,
just like, oh,
or if you could have just waited a little bit longer.
Yeah.
why did we do this?
Yeah.
So and there was never one that was, it was like, right, now we're in CGI. Like,
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
blend
people,
over time.
we started putting it in as objects, or that
Yeah.
they edited footage to do it. So we never really got that cross into CGI. So in that way, it's like we can't really do it again until whatever's next arrives.
Yeah.
So
So you're right. This is a
deserves to
standalone.
be up
there.
This is a milestone in cinema, really.
And I think it
I
just,
agree. 8. I'll give it about an 8.5.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I just feel like it needs more of it after
Yeah.
every movie. I think
Yeah.
I don't know, because I can't think of what would make me give it. What would be the point when I'm like, this is perfect,
Yeah.
and I can't.
Yeah, no, so I think you're right. Like to say, like I'd give it an 8.5. But I don't know what I could say it would need to do to become a 10.
No, yeah,
But I don't think it's perfect. It's not.
Yeah.
no, but it's. I don't know. Maybe it just. I feel like even if it was a bit longer and had more substance, maybe.
Yeah.
But for the kind of thing, I mean, it's a fine length. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would just be
if
like,
it was
I
too
don't know,
long, I
for
think
me,
it'd be stuff in it. Yeah.
If I had a bit more substance in the background, that might make me push through. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it won
I
some
still love
Oscars.
it, yeah.
It won some Oscars for its special effects and
Yeah.
stuff.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is well deserved.
Yeah.
Worthy.
So yeah, I think that's a high 8.5. I think it's
Yeah.
a good score. Right, so we'll start wrapping up on Roger Rabbit.
Okay then, yeah.
Who whacked Roger Rabbit? Don't read the books.
Yeah.
Maybe read the first one, but just don't bother with the rest because they're really.
I want to now.
To see how
Well,
they do.
Matt, that's what you do.
Two reviews.
We're
I don't.
gonna do it like a book report.
Yeah.
Go away and read them.
I'll get them read.
And
So
come
come
back.
back to me 2030. I might have read them by then.
And we'll review them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how these other panned out. Actually, so dipping back into history, do films stand up, or do they actually are they as good
Yeah.
as you remember them? You guys have anything exciting? Anything you want to plug? Anything you're doing? You want to let the world know about?
We're working on a on our own podcast at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, about 90s cartoons.
Was that inspired by anything by chance?
No, it was just when you asked us, we were like, "Oh, that's wicked."
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so that would become what Toon Jam.
Toon Jam is called.
So
Nice.
Soon we'll have some Toon Jam episodes out.
Excellent.
You can follow us.
Yes.
At,
Oh well.
Toon Jam Pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Is
don't
that
know,
on
I don't
Twitter
think there's anything
and
That's on
Twitter, Instagram,
yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
awesome. Alright, listen, you've heard that. All four of you
That's
get
an
on Toon
exclusive.
Jam.
That's a
That's
20th
it. That's
century.
our
That
first
is.
exclusive. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a scoop.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, I feel like a proper news hour, don't I?
Yeah.
Me and Screen Rant. That's great news.
Yeah.
I'm expecting like a guest slot on that.
Oh,
I'm
of course,
expecting quite
yeah.
vibes of that.
Crossover episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll do 5 parters over different.
Really
Yeah.
in depth,
Really, yeah.
analytical,
Yeah.
like sort
About
of
a 10-minute episode or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Really good.
Or just like a Vin Diesel.
Oh,
like,
video special.
We can do Riddick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no one wants to do Riddick. The fact there's no more Gleason, even Vin Diesel's given up on that one.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
Definitely.
hopefully, brilliant. That's great news. Excited for that. Toon Jam.
Thanks, man.
Toon Jam.
All right,
Yeah.
Toon Jam Pod on Twitter. Find it. That's fantastic. All right, guys. Well, time to advertise mine. So find 20th Century Geek. We're on Twitter at 20th Century Geek, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram. I've been doing all kinds of bits of pieces on Instagram this month for Superman, and I'll be doing some more in May. I might do something, try and do another monthly thing in May or June or something.
Yeah.
If you want to get in contact, it's 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com. And the big one is help us keep the lights on in 20th Century Towers. We are on Patreon, and we do some fantastic Patreon content every month. So go on there, check out the rewards, and any donations are greatly received. And they keep my children in shoes, is what they do. I'm dressed fantastically, but they keep my kids in good, fed, basically.
Yeah. Which coincidentally, a line in Fly Like an Eagle by Seal from the Space Jam soundtrack is "Shoo the children."
Shoo the children.
Shoo the children.
Yeah, but you know what that means, didn't you? Because it was R. Kelly. He was more like, shoo them into my bedroom. That's a whole different podcast.
More on that. Coming soon.
We keep saying this gets
That's
dark.
it.
So
Yeah.
on that rapey end note, thank you guys for being part of this, and we'll catch up again soon.